Before we dive in, I want to share something that can make 2026 your best year yet. It's called the Success Blueprint, a quick, powerful goal-setting course designed to help you achieve goals that actually fit your values, your capacity, and your season of life. Inside, you'll create a focused plan for 2026 that feels exciting and doable, not overwhelming. Think of it as a roadmap that channels your ambition into meaningful, sustainable progress. And it's yours for $26. If you're ready for goals you can't wait to accomplish that are actually doable, head to womenleadwell.net/blueprint or check out the link in the show notes below. You'll be amazed at how easy it can be to achieve your biggest, juiciest goals. And now, on to the episode. Welcome to Joyfully Unstoppable, the podcast for women who are ready to lead boldly, live lightly, and reclaim their joy. Whether you're leading a team, a classroom, a boardroom, or your own big, beautiful life, I am so glad you found us. I'm your host, Becky Ham, leadership coach, speaker, and founder of Women Lead Well. After years of high-level leadership, I discovered that success doesn't have to come at the cost of your peace, your values, or your well-being. Each week, we'll explore what it means to lead joyfully, sustainably, and authentically, even in a world that tells you to hustle harder and prove your worth. You carry a lot. Let's help it feel lighter. Did you know that only 8% of people achieve their goals? 92% of us set goals that we don't achieve. I think that is wild. While I know that goal achievement is a challenge, and when we know about New Year's resolutions, right as we go into the holidays, we maybe are thinking about resolutions for 2026, that we might set those resolutions or intentions or goals and not follow through. I did not realize that it was only 8% of people, or 8% of the goals that people set, we actually achieve. So I'm a curious cat and I wanted to know why. And what I found was probably not surprising. One, we set goals that aren't tied to our values. We set goals that we don't actually care about achieving. You've heard me talk on the podcast before. I surely talk with my coaching clients. No shoulds. When I'm coaching a woman, it does not matter what should happen, what she should want, what she should do. I mean, seriously, the tagline for my business is joyful, sustainable, authentic leadership. And that authentic piece and that sustainable piece and that joyful piece, really important. And if you're focused on what you should do as opposed to what you actually want to do, what actually lights you up, what's actually aligned with your values, you're not going to get very far. And so a lot of goals sit unfulfilled because they were never the right goal for the person to begin with. The goals were not aligned with the individual's values. They weren't authentic to the person. They didn't light them up, so the person didn't have motivation to do them. The second reason why a lot of people fail to achieve their goals has more to do with that sustainable part of joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership. And that is that people choose goals that are not set up for success, that people lack the capacity to actually achieve the goals they set. The goals might be aligned, they could be amazing, but if you don't have the time or the energy or the knowledge, the skill, the know-how, or the financial resources to achieve the goal, how are you going to get there, right? And so I don't mean to brag. It's going to sound like I'm bragging on myself for a minute. I really don't mean to. I just want to illustrate the fact that I am a little bit of a goal queen, that I am firmly in that 8%. And here are the receipts. Receipt number 1, had my PhD by the time I turned 27. It It was not a small thing to earn a PhD from Georgetown University. It's a pretty prestigious program that I went through, ranked really high at the time. I think it's even more prestigious today, but I did it. 5 marathons by the time I turned 40. Again, why would anyone run a marathon? I don't know, but I did it. I did it 5 times. The Marine Corps Marathon in Washington, D.C. Loved it. I became the vice president of an organization that a $100 million operating budget. I became the VP of that organization by the time I was 42. And then now, the year I turned 50, I launched a successful coaching business, Women Lead Well. I know how to identify big, juicy goals and achieve them. And, I am here to support women's professional growth. And so we're going to talk about how it is that you can join that 8% and you can set big, juicy goals and then achieve them. I have talked in the last couple of episodes about the Success Blueprint. That is the mini course that I've developed on goal setting and goal implementation. It is currently priced at $26 because we're moving into 2026. And I wanted something that was really accessible for people to be able to purchase and then start implementing before the new year rolled around. And so I'll link that in the show notes if you're interested. That, of course, gives you a whole lot more depth into what we're going to talk about today, as well as the implementation of what we're going to talk about today. But what we're doing today on the podcast is I'm going to walk you through the framework that I used to finish that PhD and run those marathons and serve as a vice president and then now as a founder and CEO. I am not a SMART goals girly. Like I understand SMART goals. Logically, they make sense, but they do not light me up. Like that is not how my mind works, and that is not motivational for me. So if you're a SMART goals girly, rock on with your bad self, but that's not what we're talking about today. Today, we're going to talk about the method that I use or the framework that I use to set and achieve my goals, and that is the ALIGN framework. And so let's spend a little bit of time going through the ALIGN framework, which is just an acronym for anchored, limited, impactful, grounded, and navigable. And what I work with my clients and when I am setting and achieving my own goals, this is the framework that I use to make sure that I'm picking the right goals, that these are goals that are connected to my values, and that I have set myself up for success by picking goals that I can support, that I actually can implement. And so let's do it. And we're going to start with anchored. So what does it mean that your goal is anchored? Well, if you've been listening to this podcast for any length of time, you're going to know that I care deeply about people being aligned with their core values. And so anchored is this aspiration, this thing that I want to do, is it anchored in my core values? Or is it coming from somewhere else? And here's what I mean by that. If something is anchored in my core values, then the goal flows from what is most meaningful, most important, most motivational to me. And so you guys know my core values: service, family, freedom, and harmony. That's it. I got 4. And I would tell you, we'll talk about core values in a few weeks, but I would tell you your core values, you're not talking more than 4 or 5. You can't prioritize if you got 20 core values. They're not core, right? But those top 4 or 5 values, is your goal anchored in one of those core or many of those core values? And so let's take me launching Women Lead Well the year I turned 50. Why did I do that? Well, I did it because of that core value of service. I also did it because I was in a position where I was going to have to commute 3 to 4 hours every single day to stay in the job that I had been in and before I left to found Women Lead Well. And there was no time freedom. So that dynamic was violating my core value of freedom. And that was 3 to 4 hours a day that I was separated from my family. And so clear violation of that core value. Alternatively, the way that I have founded Women Lead Well with one-to-one coaching and the group programs and the digital products, I have a ton of time freedom that I can then focus on my family, my children and my husband and the home and our dogs and the life that we have. And so founding Women Lead Well aligns with that core value of service. It aligns with the core value of family, and it aligns with the core value of freedom. Launching a business is not the most harmonious thing that I've ever done, and so I'm not saying it's a slam dunk, and I'm not saying for you, for a goal to be good, that it has to align with all of your core values. What I'm saying is if you have a goal that does not align, or an aspiration that does not align with any of your core values, you might want to think about whether it's a real goal that you want to invest any of yourself in. It might be a nice to have, but not something you really want to leverage some of your time or energy, capacity, or money against. So that is anchored. Next up in the align framework is limited. You have to know the essential result you are looking to achieve. So think of this in terms of outcomes. And I can use weight loss as a clear example because it is pretty concrete this way. Let's say you want to lose 20 pounds. Well, the essential result is that you lose 20 pounds. As you get into building your action plan, you got a lot of options for how you can achieve that essential result. Probably ladies, if you're perimenopausal, if you're a little later in life, you're not going to exercise your way out of 20 pounds. Nutrition is going to have to be a key piece of that. But there are different ways to dial in your nutrition. There are different things that you can do to burn more calories, to get the exercise, to speed up your metabolism. So there are different levers that you can pull on to achieve the essential result, but you know what that essential result is. As opposed to, let's talk about an unlimited or a vague goal that would be something like you want to improve communication. Well, what is that? What does that look like, right? The essential result, improving communication, that is laudable, that is wonderful. If it's at work, improve communication with your team. If it's at home, improve communication with your partner. All of that is amazing. But how do you know it when you see it? What is the essential result that you're driving toward? So again, as you're refining this aspiration into a goal, if it's aligned with your values, awesome, move to the next step. Is it limited? Can you define the essential result that you want to see? And you just keep tweaking it. You keep working with it. You keep refining it until you hit an essential result, like an actual outcome, a tangible, observable thing that you can see to say, yes, I have achieved this goal. And if it's just not there, then maybe think about how you are conceiving the goal to see if that can't give you some perspective to clarify that essential result or that key outcome that would demonstrate success, that you would achieve the goal. Next up is impactful. So we've got anchored, we've got limited. Now we're talking impactful. Is the goal impactful? And here when I say impactful, what I mean is, will achieving this goal meaningfully move the needle where it matters most to you? So with limited, I was telling you to get super precise and specific and observable and tangible. And here with impactful, it sounds a little vague. So let me clarify. Let me be clear with it. When your goal is impactful, you will see the effect that it is having on your life. Why is this important? Because the bigger the goal, the longer it's probably going to take to achieve it. And potentially, the bigger the goal, the more you will have to change as a person to achieve it. And we know by now, if you've listened to this podcast, you know that our ego, that part of our brain that just tries to keep us alive and keep us safe, it is wedded to the status quo. It does not want you to change. It doesn't care that you're dissatisfied. It doesn't care that you're 20 pounds overweight. It doesn't care that you're stuck in a job you don't love. You're alive. That's a good enough. It has cleared the bar, right? And so when I say impactful, you're going to want the value of the goal and the progress along the way of achieving the goal to be meaningful enough in your life that it can overcome that inertia that is just a natural part of the human experience. you will reach a point at some point of implementing any goal where you want to give up. That's normal. That is not a sign of failure. That is not a lack of motivation. That is not a weakness of your character. That is hi, you are a human being. Period. And so an impactful goal, one that really moves the needle on your life, is part of what overcomes that inertia to help you build and then maintain momentum to keep making the forward progress, particularly when you just aren't going to want to. So it's not a hack, but you're stacking the deck in your favor by identifying goals that are going to be both limited, that you know success when you see it, and impactful, that's going to help you get over the hurdle of inertia. That is just there. It's just part of life. Okay. Anchored, limited, impactful. Next up is grounded. What do I mean by that? Well, what I mean is your goals have to be grounded in reality. I love you. I love you. I want you to go and achieve big, audacious goals. I do. But you have to have the time, the energy, and the resources to do it. So grounded is where you take your aspiration and you ask yourself, do I have the time to accomplish this goal with everything else I've got going on in my life? And if the answer is no, well, that doesn't mean that the goal is disqualified. That just means you got to look at your calendar and say, what can I ditch, delegate, delay in order to create some space to give me time to work on this goal that I know is anchored in my values, that I know is impactful and is going to move the needle on things that really matter to me. So this isn't a disqualifier. This is a get curious, start problem solving, get creative, and come up with solutions. The same is true with energy. We've talked about energy engines and energy leaks in the past. Think about that here. This goal, the aspiration that you want to achieve, and how you think you might achieve that goal, the things you're going to have to do in order to accomplish the goal, do those give you energy? Or do they suck the energy right out of you? And let's come back to weight loss. Again, just because it's a clear example. Let's say you want to lose those 20 pounds. Okay, great. And let's say you can block an hour on your calendar every other day to work out. Phenomenal. Love that for you. Well, okay. And what you've decided you're going to do in that hour every other day is you're going to go lift weights. Okay. Phenomenal. Muscle is incredibly important, particularly in women as we age. Except the thought of going to the gym and having everybody look at you while you work out and try to figure out the weight machines fills you with dread. Oh. Well then, my sweet friend, may I suggest that goal, as you have defined it, is not grounded in the reality of your energy. Because you don't want to go to the gym and have people stare at you while you try to lift weights. As you learn how to lift weights, you're not going to try, you're going to actually do it, but you might not be confident in it when you begin. And so then, okay, well, what do you like to do? What does give you energy? Walking around your neighborhood? Saying hi to your neighbors and looking at the neighbor dogs as they go on their walks, or whatever it might be. Okay, well then how about on that hour every other day when you're going to work out, you go for a walk instead of going to the gym, right? You do the thing that's an energy engine for you instead of the thing that's an energy leak. Again, you don't throw the goal away, but you refine the goal in a manner that leans into the energy that you have. And you certainly want to, if you can, find a way to pursue that goal in a way that is actually going to give you more energy than not. Because again, you got to exert energy to accomplish the goal because you got to overcome the inertia of where you are. And so you don't want to have to fight up the hill of overcoming the inertia of where you are while fighting up the hill of doing something that actually drains your energy. Like that, the math don't math on that. You are not going to achieve a goal if that's the way you approach it. So grounded. We've talked about time. We've talked about energy. And some things cost money, right? And so you've also got to think about the financial requirements to achieve the goal. And again, none of this is a disqualifier. I would say anchored is a disqualifier. I would encourage you to never pursue a goal that is not aligned with your core values. I would never want you to do that. When you come to grounded, time, energy, and financial resources, money, you can play with it. Maybe it's just going to take you longer to achieve the goal because of the amount of time you've got to put to it. Maybe you've got to tweak some things about how you're going to implement the goal, right? So that it is aligned with an energy engine as opposed to an energy leak. Maybe you've got to figure out the financial resources. You got to stop doing something to free up some financial resources to put toward this goal. These are not disqualifiers. These are just areas where you got to get creative. So that's grounded. And then the final piece of the aligned framework is navigable. Well, what do I mean by that? I mean, you've got to know your next step, right? I see this a lot with women that I work with. They have an amazing goal that is anchored, it is limited, it is impactful, it is grounded, but they don't know what to do to achieve the goal. And so it stays as this aspiration and it never translates into actual action because the woman doesn't know what to do or she's afraid to take that first step. There's something is holding her back. Maybe it's a story she's telling herself. Maybe it's a fear. Something is keeping her from taking that next step. And so you want to make sure that your goals are navigable, that there is an actual road from where you are today to achievement of the goal. And you can do it. Again, this isn't a disqualifier. This is a put on the creative hat and start problem solving and thinking through the different options that you've got. And now, if you've got a goal that hits each of those elements, anchored in your core values, limited, impactful, grounded, navigable, then my friend, you have got a really good goal that has a high probability of you achieving it. But you can't stop there. A goal is just something in your mind. You have to actually take the actions to make it happen. And so once you have developed an aligned goal, then it's time to bring that goal into life. I walk you step by step through how to build and implement an action plan that research shows us increases goal attainment to over 70%. So you go from 8% to 70% if you follow this model. And that is all inside of the Success Blueprint. So be sure to check that out if you want to take these goals and really set yourself up for success. So there you have it. Now, I hope this episode gave you some clarity on how to craft the big, juicy goals that you want to achieve in your life. And then if you would like to check out the Success Blueprint, again, it's $26. I put that price point really low so it would be accessible for everyone. If you'd like to check out the Success Blueprint so that you can really take that next step and turn your aligned goals into reality following the action plan to implement, I would love that for you. Again, link is in the show notes below, and always reach out. I'm at Women Lead Well on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn. You can find me on Facebook. Reach out. I'm also on TikTok. I don't spend as much time on TikTok, but you can find me there. Reach out, and I'm always happy to help you. And I hope that you will join me next week for an entire episode on gratitude and the importance of gratitude in leadership. Both how it improves team performance, and so your being a grateful leader helps improve your team's performance and morale, but also, and importantly, how it motivates and fulfills us as individuals, as people, particularly when times are challenging. 2025 has been a rough year. I'm hopeful 2026 will be a little bit easier for folks, but being grateful for the goodness that is all around us, even in times of difficulty, is incredibly powerful. And so we're going to spend the episode next week talking about it. Now, if this episode spoke to you, I would love for you to share it with a friend who's running on empty. We need more women leading from alignment, not adrenaline. And please, don't forget to like and subscribe. It really helps a little podcast like mine. And if you want to leave us a rate or review, that would be even better. You can also grab one of our free resources like the year-end review or the values clarification exercise at womenleadwell.net and linked in the show notes below. Remember, joyful, sustainable, and authentic leadership is possible, and you deserve to enjoy every minute of it. Until next time, I'm Becky Ham, and this is Joyfully Unstoppable.